reveal shot of the shit. Right, see where you get when she comes up.
Hi, Kristen! Kristen, please, Kristen! Hi, Kristen!
Had this power on people's imagination and hearts, actually.
I think it's just something she was born with. There are some people that are endowed with an undeniable, just, penetrating energy. I think the really sad thing about her is that she, as normal and sort of casual and disarming her air is immediately, she also felt so isolated and so lonely. Like, she made everyone else feel accompanied and bolstered by this beautiful sort of light. And all she wanted was to just have it back. It's like we're all mirrors of each other. What you give is what you get. And I think that she was sort of, just desperate to reveal some truth in an environment that is steeped in the energy of, as an outsider, I can say the Brits generally have the stiff upper lip mentality. That is like, it is the go-to generalization. And I think that for her, I look at pictures of her, anything, even just a fleeting little video clip, and I feel like the ground shakes and you don't know what's gonna happen. And I think the idea of somebody being so desperate for connection and somebody who's able to make other people feel so good, feeling so bad on the inside, and being so generous with her energy. I just think that we haven't had very many of those people throughout history. I mean, she really sticks out as a sparkly, just, house on fire. Yeah. There's a question there.
Especially a woman like her that has so many fragilities. Thank you so much.
She is touchable. I think there's this really common thread in the fashion world, which is elevation. It's unattainable. Let's give them a dream. It's like, that is one, that's one way of being or one aspiration, but I think that even when she looked her most beautiful and her most substantial, she also felt like she could kick her shoes off and like walk outside with you and ask you how you are and touch your face and be with you, and you would feel that honesty from her. It's hard to do that when you're teetering around on heels and kind of looking like, nobody can come near you. We do see that as beautiful, but she was really able to just be there. She was so present. Wherever she was right there. I think that's my favorite thing. That's my favorite thing about her. Well, in regards to what she wore. It didn't really matter what she was wearing, even though she had like incredible style sense. I think that she was somebody who knew how to like use clothes as armor, but at the same time was so constantly available and visible. It's like she couldn't hide. She wore her heart on her sleeve, and that to me was the coolest thing that she did. I guess. I think you find that kind of in every aspect of life, even just being a modern woman in a Western society, there are things that you feel like you have to do, and then you grow up and you realize that you don't have to do all those things, and you get to pick and choose, and you have role models and all of that. Like, I don't feel an extreme imposed rigidity. That was something I really did have to think about it as an outsider. I mean, to the extent that she felt, absolutely. Yeah, because I'm allowed to make mistakes. You know, I think that there's just such a huge, vast difference between, you know, the job of an actor or an aspiring director and somebody in the royal family who is, you know, keeping together an ideal that is supposed to keep an entire nation together. That's not, I don't consider my job as lofty. And if I did, I would be puking backstage. Like, I think I have more fun watching art that is immediate and accidental and honest. And yeah, so I'm sure that I'll blunder left and right, and here we go. That's fine. I'm not as afraid of that, maybe as I was when I was younger, but I think that that's an age thing, and you grow out of it.
How much do you identify with that, and how important is control to you?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, choice and agency, and sometimes, well, it's weird. Like, there are certain oppressive forces that sometimes feel so debilitating that they feel physical. That you feel like you can't make a choice, that you've been forced into this situation, whatever. And you know, barring circumstances that actually do provide like horrific actual oppression. When I'm talking like things that ideas that hold you back, that if you just change your perspective or look at it from a different angle or pretend that it's not there, you could get up and start running. It is something that I think is a really important lesson to learn as you grow older, is that don't let things happen to you. You know, everything's not just coming at you. You know, you are choosing every day which direction to walk in, you know? Every step you take, you're like, how big, how little, right, left. Like, I know that sounds, you know, kind of vaguely silly, vague and silly, but sometimes it really just is like a dawning moment in which you go, wait a second, no. And yeah, that's something that happens all the time. Like, but yeah, one of my friends was going through kind of a like terrible breakup recently, and it's really, you know, this is specific, but I did make this movie and look at her and go, dude, you can just choose what you want to do. This is not like, you're not on some predestined path. And sometimes your life can sort of like feel like it's happening to you, but really you can just take the reins. Yeah. It's hard to make choices like that though, and so it's scary, and so it takes balls. Yeah.
We have time only for one, I'm told, and I think it's been waiting for.
What were the rules that you had to learn to, you know, to key into your performance? And have any of them stayed with you?
My curtsy just went out the window as soon as I walked off set. No, we had royal advisors. We had people to sort of tell us all the things that you couldn't know as an outsider. At this stage in the film, this woman is, I mean, the stage that we depict in the film is a true unraveling. So once I learned the curtsy, and I learned that we're supposed to, I don't know, not go in the kitchen ourselves and steal food. Like, all of those details, they're just, I don't really remember them. But there was always someone around to make sure that if anything was out of line, that we were remaining authentic, and we weren't undermining what we were trying to do. Because obviously I'm American and not from that country, and he's, you know, from Chile, and yeah. But specifically, I would say the only thing I can really remember is the curtsy. That's a boring answer. I wish I had more for you. Not very low at all, or else you'll fall over. Yeah.
Did you understand, or did you have a better empathy around what she was going through in some capacity?
I suppose so, yeah. I mean, this is a tough one because I would never want to say, she was the most famous woman in the world. She's the most photographed woman in the entire world, right? Like, that's something that's said about her. And I have tasted a high level of that, but really kind of nowhere near that monumental, symbolic representation of an entire, group of people, like an entire country, and then the world. So my experience with just sort of feeling sometimes like you don't have control over a situation, or when I say situation, like an impression of you. That's life, that's normal, everyone experiences that. You can't control everyone's opinions of you. But I think when you know that the story on the street is just wrong and there's no way to correct it, like, I mean, this is disparate, I'm gonna get back on track, but like, the idea that maybe you had 5 minutes where somebody thought that you hadn't connected with them and they've gotten this bad impression. I've wanted to run back 1,000,000 times every day and be like, oh, hey, can we actually redo that interview? I just thought about something else for a second. I didn't say the right thing. Imagine what that was like for her. Imagine feeling backed into a corner to that extent. At some point, you're gonna bare your teeth because you're an animal and it's natural and it's normal. And I feel like everyone feels like they know her, like, because that is her talent, and it's what's beautiful about her is that she's accessible, and you feel like you're friends with her, you feel like she's your mother. But ironically, she was the most unknowable person, and somebody who really never wanted to be alone. Some people are good at it, some people hate it. She wanted connection, she wanted people in her life, and she was the most isolated human, at least over these 3 days. It really, the imagining of these 3 days, it really sort of, we wanted that to come to a head. So yeah, of course, like I can relate, but it's tough to, I don't think anyone can understand what that felt like. We tried. I mean, we all dreamed and imagined, but I think the ironic part of, and the sort of the saddest part of the story is that we will never know her, and that's all she wanted, was to just sort of tell the story herself.
As someone who's experienced, obviously intrusion in your own private life.
Yeah, I mean, there's a difference between intruding and the sort of multiplicity that art brings to the world. We were inspired, I say we, I came into this in a later stage, but, the movie doesn't offer any new information. It doesn't profess to know anything. It imagines a feeling, and I think my impression can only be my own, but that Diana was a woman who wanted people to come together, and I think that this movie's ambition is to bridge gaps, and yeah, I think if anyone ever made a movie about me, I'd be like, I wouldn't feel like it was, I wouldn't feel stolen from or taken from. There's nothing salacious about our intention. I think that would be probably more embedded in interpretation.